Chapter 465. Qing Jinshin opened the window and looked out. He saw the scene of people stepping on agents and rushing into the Dragon Palace. He was shocked by such a spectacular scene. His expression turned cold and he scolded, "It's simply lawless. They even broke in. Uncle, they have been quarreling for so long and haven't seen you come out. They must think that you are cowering in the Dragon Palace and don't dare to see them. Since they have already broken in, at this time, it's time to show them some dignity," Qing Jinshin said. Seeing the spectacular crowd outside and listening to their shouts, all of them came for Song Wuyo. Qing Jinshin made up his mind and said, "Don't kill anyone, just break their arms." When Qing Junhua heard this, his long and narrow eyes flashed with a flash of light, and the corner of his mouth passed by an imperceptible sneer. "Uncle, don't worry, I have a sense of propriety." After that, Qing Junhua turned around and looked coldly at Qing Wanduo and Li Xinshin. "You come with me and apologize to them. Even if it's just for show." Li Xinshin and Qing Wanduo looked at each other. If they had to apologize in front of so many people, they might as well die. Li Xinshin flirtatiously stroked her long hair. "I won't apologize. If my father sees this, he will definitely withdraw the cooperation with K country on the missile project." When Qing Jinshin heard this, his eyes flashed and he said to Qing Junhua, "Junhua, you deal with this matter." After pausing for 2 seconds, Qing Jinshin said again, "They are too much. They actually cause trouble in the Dragon Palace over trivial matters." Half an hour ago, when Song Wuyo saw the video that Gu Yanhao showed her, she was shocked. She never thought that the people would cause trouble in the Dragon Palace because of her. She looked at Gu Yanhao in surprise. "The scene is so sensational. They are causing trouble in the presidential palace because of you. Are you going to sit idly by?" Gu Yanhao said. "Of course not." Listening to their slogans, Song Wuyo felt a burst of warmth in her heart. She was finally not the Song Wuyo that everyone hated when they saw her. However, when she saw that there were many women, children, and the elderly in the crowd, and there were even pregnant women with big bellies, Song Wuyo's heart almost jumped out of her throat. She grabbed Gu Yanhao's arm and said anxiously, "Take me to the Pavilion Lord Manor as soon as possible." The area within 100 miles of the Dragon Palace was congested like a mountain. Loud shouts came one after another, and the crowd grew larger and larger. Gu Yanhao's car was parked at the back of the line. Looking at the sea of people in front of him, Song Wuyo was very worried. So many people are causing trouble in the Pavilion Lord Manor. I wonder if anyone is injured. If a stampede happened, wouldn't that be terrible? Song Wuyo felt very ashamed. "Let's get off." Gu Yanhao got out of the car with Song Wuyo. Behind him were Ade, Lu Jiming, and 2 other bodyguards. When everyone saw Song Wuyo, they were even more excited. Suddenly, they surrounded her and fought to be the first to say, "Mrs. Gu, don't back down. We support you. Mrs. Gu, we're here. Don't be afraid of the third party. Young Master Gu, you have to take care of Goddess Wuyo. Thank you, everyone." Song Wuyo waved her hands and looked at them excitedly. "I'm very happy and touched that all of you are so protective of me. But for everyone's safety, please make way. Let me quickly go to the front to see the situation. I'm worried that someone will get hurt." Hearing Song Wuyo's words, everyone quickly made way for her. One by one, they retreated to the side, and soon formed a narrow path. Gu Yanhao pulled Song Wuyo and walked quickly in the narrow path. Behind them were bodyguards. The scene was spectacular. Chapter 466. Gu Yanhao's emperor-like demeanor and Song Wuyo's magnificence seemed to exude a sense of majesty that made people have no choice but to obey. Wherever they went, the streets automatically formed. The people looked at them with excitement and excitement. Such a scene reminded Song Wuyo of the year when she and Dongfang Xian returned from a victorious battle. The people welcomed them in high spirits. They each rode on a horse. The people stood on both sides of the street, cheering and shouting at them, because the people automatically made way for Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo to pass through smoothly. They soon arrived in front of the Dragon Palace. The entrance of the Dragon Palace was luxuriously designed. A staircase made of maroon marble was connected to the large square in front of the Dragon Palace. In front of the entrance stood 2 Roman pillars that could only be encircled by 2 adults. In front of the pillars stood 2 ferocious lions. The whole castle was magnificent. However, at this time, the Dragon Palace was surrounded by the people. The people who broke into the Dragon Palace had already rushed up to the 2nd floor. They were confronting the president's bodyguards in the corridor outside the 2nd floor. They broke in. It's very dangerous, Song Wuyo said anxiously. Sure enough, she saw Qing Junhua appear aggressively. Behind him, there were 2 tall and burly secret agents. The 2 secret agents were holding long guns. Seeing Qing Junhua appear, the people became even more agitated. Hand over Li Xinxin. Down with Li Xinxin. Hand over Li Xinxin. Down with Li Xinxin. The loud shouts drowned out the other. Qing Junhua's sharp eyes were without any warmth. He coldly scanned the surroundings. Seeing so many people defending Song Wuyo, his eyes became even colder. I'll give you 30 minutes. Disperse immediately. He put the loudspeaker in his hand to his mouth and said coldly. Hand over Li Xinxin and we'll disperse. The girl closest to Qing Junhua shouted. She was not afraid of death and confronted Qing Junhua. You bunch of stupid things. Qing Junhua scolded. You're the future president. How can you use your power to protect a foreign woman and bully a woman from your own country? What is this? The girl was agitated and wanted to rush in to find Li Xinxin. When the agents behind Qing Junhua saw this, they thought that the girl was going to attack Qing Junhua. One of the agents came forward, grabbed the girl, and threw her down. The girl was about 16 years old and had a petite body. The agent picked her up as easily as he picked up a rabbit. Although it was only the 2nd floor, the structure of this castle was different from ordinary buildings. Not only was it spacious, but it was also very tall. It was even taller than a duplex. The 2nd floor was as tall as the 4th floor. The girl was pushed down, and her whole body fell down. The people on the ground were shocked. They wanted to surround the girl and catch her, but there were too many people and they were too panicked. Thus, a stampede happened. When Song Wuyo saw this, she turned pale with fright. The moment she saw the girl being thrown down, she forgot to think. There was only one thought in her mind, and that was that no one should die or get hurt because of her. She didn't know where she got the strength from, but she broke free from Gu Yanhao's grip and leaped up. She kicked off the lion's head in front of the door and used the momentum to fly in the direction where the girl fell. Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao's expression changed drastically. He looked in shock at the figure that was as light as a swallow flying away in the air. When he shouted, everyone raised their heads and looked at the figure that was flying quickly over their heads. They instantly felt the air condense, except for the light flying figure. Chapter 467. Song Wuyo flew over, stretched out her arm, hugged the girl, and flew to another place with her. Finally, they landed on a turntable that was about 10 meters high. Song Wuyo's body stood steadily on the turntable, and one of his arms hugged the girl tightly. The girl thought that she would fall to her death or become disabled. She didn't expect such a shocking thing to happen. She had only seen such a scene in movies. The girl was still in shock. She grabbed Song Wuyo's arm and looked up at this magnificent woman in a daze. Even Qing Junhua and the special agent he brought over were stunned by this scene. For special agents, jumping up and down from a 100-meter-tall building was not a problem. But they also needed auxiliary tools such as ropes, windowsills, pipes, but this woman in front of them didn't need anything. She just flew in the air. That's right, she flew. She flew like an eagle. It was like the Qinggong in the movies, but it didn't really look like Qinggong. Qinggong was more exaggerated, but this woman wasn't exaggerated at all. Then, Qing Junhua's expression became very ugly. He looked at Song Wuyo as if he wanted to eat her up. This woman was so skilled. Who was she? Li Xinxin and Qing Wanduo had trained before, but they couldn't jump so high. She actually did it. Gu Yanhao's expression was even worse than Qing Junhua's. This woman showed off her skills in front of so many people. How high profile was she? He brought Ade, Lu Jiming, and the others forward. They stood under the turntable and looked up at the woman on it. Song Wuyo had not recovered from the injuries she had suffered from Li Xinxin and the others. She seemed to have used too much strength after the commotion. After she steadied herself, she felt that her mind was a little blurry and she was floating. She looked at the people below. It was as if the whole world was spinning and swaying. She quickly closed her eyes and calmed herself down. Then, she opened them again. She looked at everyone. The moment she saved the girl, the deafening cheers suddenly stopped. Everyone was looking at her. Their eyes were filled with shock, excitement, and adoration. When Song Wuyo's gaze met Gu Yanhao's, her heart trembled violently. Among the crowd, that tall figure stood out like a crane among chickens. Even in the vast sea of people, it was easy to find his figure. The muscles on his face were tense, and his eyes were sharp. His two hands hanging by his side were tightly clenched into fists. She knew that he was angry because she had saved someone. Song Wuyo pursed her lips, retracted her gaze, and looked coldly at Qing Junhua, who was standing by the corridor of the Dragon Palace. She smirked. Is this the president's style? Song Wuyo, you incited the people to protest against the president. Prepare to go to jail. Qing Junhua said coldly. I fanned it. Song Wuyo sneered. Do you have evidence that I fanned it? We're the ones who want to seek justice for Mrs. Gu. There's no need to fan her. Yes. The president is a coward who covers up for his mistress and bullies others. He's not worthy to be our king. The people started to shout again. Everyone, quiet. Song Wuyo raised both hands to signal for everyone to keep quiet. Her actions had a majesty that made people obey. When she spoke, the crowd immediately quietened down. This scene made Qing Junhua even angrier. Song Wuyo looked at them and said sincerely, I'm very touched that all of you are so protective of me. Thank you. Everyone was silent. Chapter 468. But what you're doing is very dangerous. If you get hurt because of me, or even lose your lives, I won't be happy for the rest of my life. Song Wuyo looked at the place where they had stepped on just now. They were already standing properly, but it was inevitable that some of them were slightly injured. She frowned and said, It's so crowded. If there's a serious stampede, I'll feel very guilty. She raised her head, looked at them, and said loudly, We're all righteous people. We won't be defeated so easily. The princess of Country L came to threaten me to leave my husband and even injured me. But this is between me and her. You caused a ruckus in the Dragon Palace to protect me. If there's an accident, I'll feel bad. Song Wuyo supported the girl she had saved and said seriously, You saw it just now. If no one saved her, what would the consequences be if she fell from such a high place? If there's a serious stampede, you'll be the one who gets hurt, and your family will be sad. Song Wuyo turned around and looked at the girl. If you get hurt or die like this, your family and friends will be sad. The party who left you behind will definitely not feel guilty. The girl gritted her teeth and raised her head. She looked at Song Wuyo with a complicated gaze. What you've done today is all for me. Now, I beg everyone, for me, leave this place and go home, okay? Song Wuyo looked at everyone pleadingly. She seemed to be using all her strength to say every word. She was very loud, but no one in the distance could hear her. Even so, the people in the distance remained silent and looked at this different woman quietly. She exuded the majesty and persuasiveness of a mother. Her simple words had already touched the hearts of people, making them not dare to resist. Don't worry. For you, for my lover, I'll protect myself well. I hope that you can protect yourself for your family and your loved ones. Go home and don't let your family worry, okay? Mrs. Gu, if they don't hand over Li Xin, we won't accept it. Someone in front of the turntable shouted. When he shouted, the people around him also shouted. So what if we hand her over? Song Wuyo looked at them seriously. Kill her. Everyone fell silent. Li Xin is the princess of L country. If we kill her, L country will go to war with K country. In the end, the ones who will be hurt will be our innocent citizens. So what if she likes my husband? My husband won't like her. If she comes to provoke me in the future, I promise you that I will give her a tight slap, okay? Good. All right. We support you. When everyone heard this, they raised their hands and cheered. Song Wuyo smiled and said earnestly, go home. Even if you want justice, you have to see if the other party is a righteous person. In Song Wuyo's heart, Qing Jianxin and Qing Junhua were not righteous people. Let's not make things difficult for the goddess. They are bullying us with their power. If they use their tanks to crush us, we will die, someone said loudly. Mrs. Gu, from now on, you are our queen. Long live the queen. Everyone cheered as they slowly left. Song Wuyo hugged the girl and jumped down from the turntable. That posture was devastatingly beautiful and peerlessly beautiful. The people who had not left could not help but be stunned. Then, they applauded with all their might. Chapter 469. Gu Yanhao stepped forward and held her in his arms. There was a hint of blame in his deep eyes. His ears were filled with applause. If he wanted to blame her, he would not say it. Mrs. Gu, can you take a picture with me? The rescued girl looked at Song Wuyo with admiration and anticipation. Song Wuyo smiled and said, yes. The girl was very happy when she heard that. She took out her phone from her pocket and took a few selfies with Song Wuyo. When the crowd saw this, they came forward and wanted to take pictures with Song Wuyo. The women were slightly better, but some men came forward and wanted to take pictures with Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao was unhappy. His pettiness was acting up again. Song Wuyo sensed his displeasure, so she smiled and told everyone that they would take pictures another day when they were free and asked them to go back quickly. They seemed to listen to Song Wuyo and did not make things difficult for her. They all left one after another. After about 10 minutes, the crowd dispersed. Song Wuyo felt a cold gaze penetrating from behind. She turned around and looked at the corridor on the second floor. The people who broke into the Dragon Palace had come out. The corridor seemed to be quiet. Qing Junhua stood there and looked down at Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao coldly. The moment his gaze met with Song Wuyo's, the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Song Wuyo's gaze was cold. She raised her chin and had the courage of a queen. Let's go back, Gu Yanhao whispered in her ear. Song Wuyo nodded. Okay. When they turned around, Gu Yanhao turned his head and looked at Qing Junhua with his hawk-like eyes. That gaze was arrogant and cold, and it seemed to have a murderous aura. Qing Junhua, who was upstairs, seemed to have been provoked like never before. He pursed his thin lips and gloomily looked at their departing figures. A wave of anger burned wildly in his chest. Before Song Wuyo arrived, he had brought his bodyguards and agents to stop the crowd. The more they tried to stop it, the more agitated the people became. Even the president made an announcement telling them to disperse quickly, otherwise severe measures would be taken. He even threatened them with his personal safety, but they ignored him. As soon as Song Wuyo arrived, he told them to disperse with just a few words. This kind of result made Qing Junhua very unconvinced. Who was the president? This group of unruly people actually only listened to the words of a woman. Qing Junhua felt that he had received an incomparably great challenge. His self-esteem had been severely damaged. It was as if all the majestic and domineering aura was nothing compared to that woman, Song Wuyo. Indeed, Song Wuyo had a boldness that no other woman could possess. Every move he made was enough to intimidate others. Qing Junhua narrowed his eyes dangerously. That aura of hers, could it be that she got it from her dead father, Ban Dekhang? She's just a woman, but she's so bold. Li Xinxin walked over and stood beside Qing Junhua, smiling flirtatiously. Qing Junhua glanced at him coldly. Don't provoke Song Wuyo in the future. Don't bring your selfishness into national affairs. If you like Gu Yanhao, then think of a way to snatch him, not let the people come to the Dragon Palace to cause trouble. Snatching men is the most taboo thing for men. You, as a princess, can't even compete with Song Wuyo. It only shows that you're not capable. With that, Qing Junhua turned and left. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of a figure flashing by at the end of the corridor. Although it was just a glimpse, Qing Junhua still recognized the person. His eyes narrowed dangerously, and his entire body exploded. Song Jiuyue. He hurried forward and saw Song Jiuyue going up the spiral staircase to the third floor. Chapter 470. Qing Junhua frowned. What was Song Jiuyue doing in the Dragon Palace? The president's office was on the third floor. Was she looking for the president? Ordinary people could not enter the Dragon Palace. That damned woman must have taken advantage of the chaos just now. Qing Junhua quickly stepped forward and grabbed the other party's arm. His expression was malicious. What are you doing here? In the car, Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao were silent. Everyone must have recognized that this car belonged to Gu Yanhao. When they saw his car from afar, they made way for him. The car drove smoothly. Lu Jiming, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, was very excited. From time to time, he would look at Song Wuyo, who was sitting in the back seat, through the rearview mirror. When he saw Song Wuyo again, he saw Song Wuyo as a queen. You were the one who uploaded that video, right? Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao's eyes were deep. Yes. He did not expect that it would cause such a sensation. He only asked people to criticize Li Xinxin and Qing Wanduo so that they would restrain themselves and stop finding trouble with Song Wuyo. Moreover, he wanted to put Qing Jinxin in a difficult position. More importantly, he wanted everyone's hearts to belong to Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo raised her eyebrows. Why did you do that? Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply. You will know in the future. I want to know now. I can't tell you now. He would not tell her before the plan was completed. Today's scene is too shocking. Song Wuyo sighed. From this, we can see how ruthless Qing Junhua is, Gu Yanhao said coldly. Song Wuyo raised her eyebrows. Isn't Qing Jinxin the president? At this time, he is not coming out to settle this matter. Gu Yanhao sneered. He can't settle it. So he did not come out. If you can't even handle this kind of thing, how can you be the president? He was simply a coward. Song Wuyo pursed her lips and said, fortunately, no one was hurt. The people who were trampled just now were only slightly injured, and because they tried their best to save the girl, they did not blame anyone. They got up and acted as if nothing had happened. Gu Yanhao said, through this incident, the whole country is paying attention to it. Li Xinxin and Qing Wanduo won't dare to make trouble for you. Song Wuyo pursed her lips and said, when the heat dies down, they'll come out to show off again. Gu Yanhao flicked her head. Is your husband a vegetarian? Song Wuyo smiled and looked at Gu Yanhao gratefully. Ah ho, thank you for planning this. Plan. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and looked at her quietly. She had seen through him. Song Wuyo held his hand and looked at him deeply. Maybe you did all this for my sake, but don't plan such a grand scene in the future. It's like a war. Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply. You're not happy. Song Wuyo shook her head. No, I'm just worried that they'll get hurt. Silly girl. Gu Yanhao patted her head and pulled her into his arms. Song Wuyo leaned her head on his chest and looked down slightly. Her lips curled up, revealing a sweet smile. Gu Yanhao looked at the front thoughtfully. Song Jiuyue was slapped so hard that she was sprawled on the sofa. She supported her body with one hand and covered her burning face with the other. She turned around and looked at Qing Junhua angrily. Qing Junhua was so angry that he twisted his tie, as if his neck was getting thicker. He was like a vampire as he stared at Song Jiuyue and gritted his teeth. You've eaten a leopard's guts. How dare you inform the president? Chapter 471. Song Jiuyue said coldly, Song Wuyo is the child of your stepmother and the former president. If the president finds out, he will definitely kill Song Wuyo. Qing Junhua, you didn't tell the president because you were afraid that your stepmother would drag you down and make you unable to become the president in the end, right? Qing Junhua stared at Song Jiuyue maliciously. If I can't become the president, don't even think about being the first lady. Ha ha ha. Song Jiuyue laughed sarcastically. First lady. Even if you become the president, the first lady will not be me. Qing Junhua, you are using me. Qing Junhua slowly turned his neck. His expression was not ferocious, but his eyes were frighteningly cold. Song Jiuyue continued, you got engaged to me because you were deceived by me and thought that I was pregnant. You wanted to use me to kill Ban Jianing, but the plan failed. Now that you know that I am faking my pregnancy, will you still be good to me? Qing Junhua looked at Song Jiuyue coldly and sarcastically. Do you think you are qualified for me to be good to you? So, I want to tell the president that Song Wuyo is Ban Dechang's child. Qing Junhua suddenly grabbed her and said coldly, if you are not afraid of death, go ahead and say it. Are you trying to scare me? Qing Junhua, you are a scum. He was engaged to her and was on good terms with Qing Wanduo. Qing Junhua stared at her bloodthirstily. If you dare to tell the president about Song Wuyo's background, you and Song Nan will die in the hands of this scum. Song Jiuyue looked at the man hatefully. If I want you to die, you can't die happily. Didn't Song Nan have a heart transplant operation? I will let him suffer heartless pain first and slowly torture him to death. Qing Junhua said coldly like a deadly Azura. Qing Junhua, you are a devil. Song Jiuyue's heart trembled when she heard this. Qing Junhua threw her back to the sofa and looked down at her coldly. It's good that you know I'm a devil. I kill people without blinking. Do you like Qing Wanduo? Song Jiuyue stared at Qing Junhua and asked. Qing Junhua snorted. I only like myself. So, you're also using Qingwan Duo? Qing Junhua looked at her sarcastically. She has more brains than you. Song Jiuyue did not understand what he meant. Get out here. Song Jiuyue suddenly thought of something and sneered. Aren't you afraid that I will upload the recording of you wanting to kill Ban Jianing online? Qing Junhua's eyes were cold and murderous. He stared at Song Jiuyue and said, Do you think I'm a fool? After saving the recording for 3 days, the recording pen will automatically format and become blank. Even if you find an expert, he won't be able to restore it. When Song Jiuyue heard this, she was angry and embarrassed. Qing Junhua, you're playing with me. Your and Song Nan's lives are already in my hands. I don't mind playing with you to the end. Song Jiuyue was frustrated and suddenly regretted helping him hurt Ban Jianing. If you become the president one day, will you be my first lady? Song Jiuyue asked. Qing Junhua looked at her coldly. It depends on your endurance and your usual performance. Song Jiuyue got up, raised her chin, straightened her collar, and walked out proudly. She could either be the first lady and suppress Song Wuyo, or she could die together with Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao returned to the manor. Muxin and Su Jing were waiting for them excitedly. As soon as Song Wuyo entered the living room, Muxin rushed up and grabbed her arm tightly. She said happily, Sister Wuyo, you're amazing. Chapter 472. Song Wuyo looked at Mu Axian with a smile. Mu Axian kept praising and praising her. She and Su Jing kept praising her. Even Ban Jianing picked flowers from outside and gave them to her. Gu Yanhao pursed his lips and looked at the 3 women coldly before going upstairs. Mu Axian looked at his back and said in surprise, Sister Wuyo, Brother Aho seems to be jealous. Song Wuyo smiled. Ever since he started living with Jianing, his temper has become more and more like Jianing's. Brother Aho is very scary when he gets jealous. Hurry up and coax him, Mu Axian said. Song Wuyo looked at Mu Axian. You're not sad about Qing Junhua? When Ban Jianing heard this, a strange glint flashed across his eyes. He glanced at Mu Axian faintly. When Mu Axian heard this, she smiled helplessly. I'm not sad. I didn't betray him. He betrayed me. Breaking up with him now is better than having a woman bring a child to my door and challenge me after marrying him, right? Song Wuyo raised her hand and rubbed Mu Axian's shoulder. She said meaningfully, It's good that you can think this way. After Song Wuyo went upstairs, Ban Jianing came over with a pleading look in his eyes. Mu Axian, can you fly a kite with me? Mu Axian worshipped Song Wuyo, but that didn't mean that she had a good impression of Ban Jianing. Mu Axian looked at him coldly. I'm not interested. I hate flying kites the most. With that, Mu Axian turned around and went into the house. Ban Jianing picked at his fingers, looking very unhappy. Su Jing couldn't bear to see such a cute boy unhappy. She smiled and coaxed him. I'll fly a kite with you, okay? Ban Jianing glanced at Su Jing, then imitated Mu Axian's expression and tone. I'm not interested. I hate flying kites with you the most. With that, he turned around and left the villa in a huff. Su Jing stared at his back in a daze. What was going on? What did he mean by he hated flying a kite with her the most? They had never flown a kite together, okay? When Song Wuyo returned to the bedroom, Gu Yanhao was standing on the balcony, looking into the distance thoughtfully. Song Wuyo walked over and stood beside him. She glanced at him and smiled. What are you thinking about? Do you like the manor I built for you? Gu Yanhao's deep eyes flashed with a touch of complexity. Song Wuyo smiled and said, I like it. Gu Yanhao turned to look at her and asked, how about expanding the manor? Turn this place into a palace. Song Wuyo was stunned. Why? Gu Yanhao smiled and said, expand the area and hire bodyguards. Just like Migu's ranch, install a high-tech transmission system. If strangers approach, the system will sound an alarm. Song Wuyo seemed to understand and asked, are you worried about my safety? Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply. Yes. Song Wuyo smiled. Ah ho, you're too worried. If Qing Junhua and the others wanted to kill her, it would be useless to build this place into a palace. She couldn't live here for the rest of her life, right? I'm not worried. Then what is it? Gu Yanhao pursed his lips and did not give her the answer she wanted directly. He hugged her shoulders and looked outside with her. At this time, the sun had set. It was late autumn, and the wind blew with a hint of coldness. Nothing. I just suddenly want to be with you all the time. Gu Yanhao lowered his head slightly and leaned against Song Wuyo's head. Chapter 473. I also like to be with you all the time. Song Wuyo reached out and wrapped her arms around his waist as she said with a sweet smile. When I'm old and have seen all the prosperity of the world and gone through the vicissitudes of life, I can still live a peaceful and happy life with you. How good would that be? Gu Yanhao said with emotion. Song Wuyo pursed her lips as a trace of surprise flashed through her eyes. This man who only knew how to make money could say such poetic words. But why did she feel that the first 3 sentences were familiar? Was it his original work? No matter if it was his original work or not, Song Wuyo knew that these were his heartfelt words. She smiled and said, Fool, what do you mean by still can? I will definitely be able to. You have to promise me that you won't leave me for the rest of your life and you have to protect yourself. Gu Yanhao said. Song Wuyo nodded and smiled. I promise you that no matter what the situation is, no matter what I encounter, all I have to do is to protect my life. Let's go travel. Gu Yanhao tilted his head and looked at her gently. Travel. Song Wuyo was surprised as her watery eyes flashed. Travel, seems like a good idea. And, travel. Gu Yanhao nodded. Where are we going to travel? Song Wuyo asked curiously and expectantly. She had been in this world for so long and she had never been to other places. Moreover, the original owner had never been on a long journey nor had she been out of the country. You once said that you like France, Egypt, Cambodia. How about we go to Egypt, then Cambodia, then France? Song Wuyo smiled gently. I'll listen to you. I'll follow you wherever you go. Gu Yanhao's eyes were filled with tenderness. You're so obedient, making me love you more and more. Song Wuyo's cheeks were red as she smiled shyly. We'll put France at the back to participate in the clothing competition that happens once every 5 years. After the competition, we'll plan to travel to other countries. Gu Yanhao hugged her and said gently. Yes. Song Wuyo nestled in his arms and looked up at him with watery eyes. When are we leaving? Next week. Gu Yanhao looked at her tenderly. Where's Jining? This is a trip for the 2 of us. I don't want to bring Jining. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and said childishly. Let him stay in the manor. The manor and Migu's place are up to him. All right, I'll do as you say. Song Wuyo buried her face in his sturdy chest and felt his heartbeat and breath. Song Wuyo felt incomparably at ease. Smelling her faint body fragrance, Gu Yanhao curled his lips seductively. Let's play while making babies. Gu Yanhao, you really think about that all the time. Song Wuyo was speechless. How could she marry a wolfman? I really want it now. Gu Yanhao turned her body around and the two stood face to face. Gu Yanhao slightly bowed his head and his charming phoenix eyes were filled with tenderness. Wife, we have to work hard. Whether we can make babies or not depends on the fate between the child and the parents. This matter can't be rushed. Song Wuyo said with a red face. If we do more, there will naturally be more fate. In fact, he was not in a hurry to make babies. He was anxious to be entangled with her. With such a soft body in his arms, how could he not think about that matter? If he didn't think about it, would he still be a normal man? Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao reproachfully. You always have so many fallacies when you want to do things. Gu Yanhao held her waist with one hand and pulled her body into his arms. Her whole body was tightly pressed against his strong chest. Chapter 474. Feeling her softness, Gu Yanhao's gaze suddenly became deep and passionate. He lowered his head and looked at her seductively. His voice became hoarse. Wifey, your mouth is not honest, but your body is. Surrounded by his scent, Song Wuyo's cheeks were rosy and her heart was beating fast. Although this was not the first time, Song Wuyo still felt embarrassed whenever he teased her. Gu Yanhao cupped her face and gazed at her deeply. The corners of his lips curved upwards with a bewitching smile. Your body is also calling out to me. Get up. Song Wuyo was so shy. I'm not getting up. I want to lie on top of you. Gu Yanhao lowered his head and gave her a peck on the lips. Song Wuyo's body quivered as he felt a chill run down his spine. Her face was as red as a ripe apple. Gu Yanhao's Adam's apple tightened as he looked at her. It was as if she was in a fiery place and her body temperature was gradually rising. Gu Yanhao raised his hand slightly and lifted Song Wuyo's face higher. He lowered his head and kissed her gently and affectionately on her lips. His lips were cold. His breath lingered around her nose. Song Wuyo's heart was beating fast and gradually calmed down under his gentle and affectionate kiss. However, her cheeks were getting rosier and more transparent, her mind gradually became blank and her body became numb and soft. His kisses were getting more skillful and he knew how to make her obey him. Her sweet taste made him addicted and drove him crazy. From the balcony to the bedroom and then to the bathroom, they were crazy for the whole night. Li Xinxin, who had a few drinks, came out of the 5-star hotel. Just as she stepped out of the hotel, a man came up to her and slashed her arm with a military knife. Li Xinxin felt a numbing pain. She wanted to retaliate, but when she exerted her strength, she felt dizzy. Her gaze turned cold and she applied some anesthetic on the wound. The wound on his arm was very deep and long. The man didn't give up. He put his hands on Li Xinxin's shoulders and lifted his long legs. His knee hit Li Xinxin's abdomen. Ah! Li Xinxin cried out in pain. The man pushed her away. At the same time, he punched her in the chest. Pfff, Li Xinxin's body flew out and smashed into the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. She looked up at the man coldly. The tall man had already strode away. His back was tall and sturdy, and his slender legs were wrapped in casual pants. He was wearing a brown windbreaker, a cap, and a black mask. His movements and speed were so fast that Li Xinxin didn't even have time to see his eyes clearly, let alone his face with a mask on. Li Xinxin was knocked to the ground by him. When he looked back, he had already swaggered away without anyone stopping him. Looking at his tall back, Li Xinxin clenched his teeth and used the back of his hand to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Isn't this the foreign mistress who hit Mrs. Gu in the video? She really looks like her. Her arm was chopped off. This is retribution. The people coming in and out of the hotel quickly surrounded Li Xinxin and pointed at her. Some of the older women didn't hold back and said some unpleasant things. Li Xinxin was arrogant and domineering by nature. She was surrounded and pointed at by them. At this moment, the numbness had passed. She jumped up and looked at them coldly. Get lost if you don't want to die. Chapter 475. What's there to be arrogant about? Go back to your own country if you have the ability. How dare you bully our goddess in our country? I really don't know what the president is thinking. Why didn't he chase such a person out of the country? I also saw the video. Young Master Cheng's men even threw a girl down from the Dragon Palace. If the rumors are true, I really hope that young Master Gu can become the president. Yes, I didn't think so in the past. Now I think that young Master Gu is very kind. If he becomes the president, the whole K country will be richer and stronger. The onlookers were scared away by Li Xinxin's fierce look, but they couldn't help but whisper to each other. Hearing their words, Li Xinxin gritted her teeth. What a bunch of annoying monsters. Li Xinxin tilted her head and looked at her injured arm. She was wearing a long-sleeved black leather jacket. There was a line of saliva on the sleeve and some blood flowed out. The leather jacket didn't absorb water and slowly dripped down. After a period of numbness, she started to feel a sharp pain. And her abdomen and chest. Li Xinxin looked in the direction where the man disappeared. Her eyes were cold. Who was he? Gu Yanhao. His figure and temperament were very similar to Gu Yanhao. Was he here to avenge his wife? Her arm was injured, and her abdomen and chest were beaten up. When Gu Yanhao appeared in the St. Petersburg bar, the women in the bar screamed like crazy. Ah, young Master Gu. My idol. My idol. Every time I see him, I feel that he is unbelievably handsome. Young Master Gu, hearing these women's screams, Gu Yanhao only raised his eyebrows. He didn't even look at them. Because of this, these women were even crazier. If they didn't know that Gu Yanhao loved his wife and knew that his wife was a powerful person, these self-aware women would have rushed forward. A handsome man with a beautiful woman, they were convinced. Moreover, Mrs. Gu was their goddess. Gu Yanhao went straight to the bar counter. Migu, who was wearing black casual jeans, a dark blue sweater, and a long beige windbreaker, was already sitting in front of the bar counter and ordered a few bottles of Hennessy. As soon as Gu Yanhao sat down, Migu pushed over a glass of wine that he had prepared for him. Gu Yanhao picked up the wine glass and looked at the wine in the transparent glass with interest. Hennessy is better than your family's hummus. I can't compare to it, but it's not bad to change my taste once in a while. Migu's charming peach blossom eyes narrowed as he smiled evilly. The dim light of the bar shone on them, making them the focus of the bar like immortals. There were women who went crazy for Gu Yanhao, and there were also women who went crazy for Migu. Although the Migu family had declined, he was still a handsome man after he grew up. Moreover, the business he was involved in was not just the ranch. The ranch was just a place where he often stayed. No one knew what business he was involved in, but every year, he and Gu Yanhao would be at the top of the list of the world's richest people. Moreover, he was Gu Yanhao's good friend. How could women not go crazy over such a rich and handsome man? Moreover, he was still single. You came to M City from the ranch just to drink? Gu Yanhao took a sip of wine. To be honest, this Hennessy was not as good as Migu's hummus. No, I came to M City for some business. I passed by this bar, so I asked you to come out for a few drinks. Migu smiled. Chapter 476. He raised his glass. Under the light, Migu's smile was very gentle. Let's have a toast. Gu Yanhao raised his glass and gently clinked it with his. I know what happened in the Dragon Palace. I also saw your wife saving people, Migu said. Gu Yanhao took a sip of wine, his eyes deep. Mugu gave a low chuckle. Your wife is really hiding her strength. Gu Yanhao looked at Mugu meaningfully, and a deep look flashed across his eyes. He pursed his lips as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. After a few seconds of silence, he said, Next week, let's go traveling. What's the route? Migu wasn't surprised at all. Egypt and Cambodia first. Okay. Migu took a sip of wine and his gaze fell on the busy waiter. A strange light flashed in his eyes. I'm free these days. Let Jianing come to the ranch. Migu tilted his head and looked at Gu Yanhao with a faint smile. Okay. If Ban Jianing was willing, that would be good. The two of them finished 3 bottles of Hennessy. They walked out of the bar together. Gu Yanhao looked at Migu. You don't want to come to my place? No. Migu smiled like a ruffian. The night is good tonight. I want to find someone to play with. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. A woman. Migu, if not a woman, are you looking for a man? Gu Yanhao glanced at his waist. A Swiss Army knife. Yes. Migu gathered his windbreaker and hid the knife. Don't bring such a lethal knife when you're dating a woman. You'll scare her. Gu Yanhao looked at Migu deeply. Exciting. Migu laughed. After Gu Yanhao left, Migu didn't leave immediately. Instead, he ran into the car across the street. He sat there and looked at the door of the bar. His cold gaze seemed to be waiting for someone. About 10 minutes later, the fashionably dressed Qingwan duo walked out of the bar with 2 female friends. Seeing this, Migu's perfect lips curled up into a smile as cold as an azura's. The window rolled down, and a special bow was slowly placed on the window. Placed on the bowstring was a sharp blade the size of a finger. The blade emitted a dazzling and cold light. As Qingwan duo approached, Migu's gaze became even colder. Whoosh! He loosened the bow and the saber on the bowstring flew out with a flash of light. Coincidentally, the lights at the entrance of the bar and the shop next to it flickered, so no one noticed the shining blade. Qingwan duo, who was about to get the car, felt her knees go soft. She was wearing trousers, so she didn't notice that she was injured. She continued to walk towards her car. Just as she took 2 steps, the sharp pain in her knee caused her to stagger and almost kneel down. Fortunately, her friends supported her. Ah, Wanduo, you're bleeding. Friend A was the first to notice that there was a hole in Qingwanduo's white trousers on her right knee. Fresh blood stained a large area. Qingwanduo frowned when she saw this. Her gaze was cold. Who schemed against me? She raised her head and scanned the surroundings with her cold gaze, as sharp as a cat's eye. However, she didn't see anyone suspicious in her line of sight. Pain. Qingwanduo didn't care about her image. She sat on the ground and tore the corner of her trousers, revealing a very deep scar. Even her bones could be seen. Damn it! Qingwanduo cursed. Her bones and tendons had been cut. At the other end of the street, a Land Rover was parked in an inconspicuous location. Gu Yanhao, who was in the car, raised his eyebrows and looked in the direction where Migu's sports car disappeared. He saw everything that Migu did to Qingwanduo. Chapter 477. Although Migu had been staying at the ranch, he also had property in M City. But every time he came to M City, he liked to stay at Gu Yanhao's place. Tonight, he asked him out for a drink, but did not go back to the manor with him. He even had a knife with him. Gu Yanhao felt that he was strange. He got into his car and did not leave immediately. Because he saw Migu get into his new sports car and did not leave immediately. He wanted to see what that guy was doing. Unexpectedly, what he saw was Migu attacking Qingwanduo. Migu came to M City just to attack Qingwanduo. Gu Yanhao's eyes were deep and serene like an ancient pond. Migu left. Even Qingwanduo was taken away by his friends. He was still sitting there with his hands tightly holding the steering wheel. Because he was exerting force on his fingers, his joints were distinct, and his veins were throbbing violently. He seemed to be enduring something. Suddenly, a beautiful and sad ringtone sounded in the car. The previous ringtone was the default one when he bought a mobile phone. Now, this ringtone was designed by him. Song Wuyo's favorite song, Love You Forever. The ringtone made him come back to his senses. He thought it was Song Wuyo. The moment he heard the ringtone, his deep eyes became gentle. However, when he saw that the caller ID was Ade, his gentle eyes suddenly returned to normal. They were cold, icy, and sharp. Speak. It was a simple word, but it revealed the majesty of a king. Young master, I accidentally heard that Li Xinxin was attacked in a bar in St. Petersburg. I went to investigate. Li Xinxin was seriously injured. When Gu Yanhao heard that, his heart was slightly squeezed. Migu did it. His left arm was injured by a sharp military knife. It was said that he was almost crippled. His lower abdomen and chest were punched, and one of his sternum was broken. He is currently being treated in the military hospital. After hearing that, Gu Yanhao's eyes seemed to be rolling like stormy waves. When he heard Ade's words, he had already guessed everything. Young master, Li Xinxin's injury happened tonight. Could it be that you did it? On the other end of the phone, Ade carefully asked. No. Gu Yanhao spat out 2 words coldly and then hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Gu Yanhao looked straight ahead with a deep gaze. Migu. He actually did this for Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao thought of the 2 paintings that he gave to Song Wuyo. The light in his eyes grew deeper and deeper. His heart felt as if it was being pulled and pulled by an invisible hand. After a long time, he drove back to the manor. When he returned to the bedroom, Song Wuyo had already fallen asleep. She turned on the bedside lamp, probably to wait for him to come back. Out of habit, she was facing him and being hugged to sleep. Even when he was not beside her, she was facing the place where he was sleeping. Gu Yanhao took off his coat and wore a black shirt. His sleeves were rolled up, which added a bit of arrogance to him. But the way he looked at the woman on the bed was so gentle and affectionate. He squatted down in front of the bed and fixed his gaze on Song Wuyo's face. This face, without any makeup, was indescribably beautiful. And the more he looked at it, the more he liked it. Gu Yanhao couldn't help but think of her reaction when she first saw him. She was shy, but she had to pluck up the courage to talk to him. He was the cold type and was especially disgusted by women who took the initiative to seduce him. He stared at her with a very sharp gaze, but she still pestered him. Chapter 478. No matter how hard he tried to discourage her, she would appear in front of him and he could not chase her away. Once, she was wearing a knee-length white princess dress. Her black hair was straight and she was very beautiful. He had seen countless beautiful women at a young age, but his eyes lit up when he saw her, who was not fully developed yet, wearing a princess dress. Of course, the proud him would never admit that she was beautiful. She came up to him in high spirits and asked him how she looked in her new dress. His gaze fell on her fair and slender legs and feet. She was wearing a pair of pink Hermes sandals that Song Jiuyue did not want, which matched her princess dress very well. Her 10 toes were exposed and they were round like pearls. At that time, Magoo was also there. He saw that Magoo's gaze was the same as his, staring at her feet. He was unhappy and said coldly, "Ugly. Tasteless. You have no figure and no breasts, and you're dressed so conservatively." From then on, Song Woo-yo always appeared in front of him with heavy makeup and revealing clothes. Seeing her like this made him even more frustrated. He wanted to slap this wretched girl into the Pacific Ocean and feed her to the sharks. Ever since she changed her clothes, her personality also changed. She became annoying. Gu Yenhao had never thought about this problem. Now that he thought about it carefully, it seemed that it was his fault from the beginning. Now, he just wanted to make it up to her and make her happy. Gu Yenhao's eyes were full of love and tenderness. He raised his hand and gently caressed her face with the back of his hand. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, revealing a shallow and charming smile. "Woo-yo, thank you for coming to my side and not abandoning me." His voice rang in the quiet bedroom. His voice was very soft and gentle, but it still woke up Song Woo-yo, who was sleeping lightly. Song Woo-yo's long and curly eyelashes fluttered slightly, then she slowly opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were sparkling and translucent like crystals under the dim bedside lamp. Seeing the man squatting in front of the bed, looking at her gently and affectionately, she smiled sweetly with a hint of calmness and asked softly, "You're back?" "Yes." This sound was a man's nasal sound. It had a hint of sexiness, and it made people's heart itch. "Did I wake you up?" Gu Yenhao's broad, good-looking palm covered her face and gently kneaded it. Song Woo-yo smiled softly. "I went to bed early. It's okay to be woken up by you." She had slept enough. Smelling the scent of alcohol, she smiled and said, "Go take a shower." The smile on Gu Yenhao's face was wider than usual. He had a mischievous smile on his face. "Have you slept enough? Are you full of energy?" Song Woo-yo nodded. "Yes." Gu Yenhao stood up and smiled seductively. "Wait for me. I'll be out soon." As he said that, he unbuttoned his tie and went into the bathroom. He threw the tie away and it fell on the goose-down sofa and lay down lazily. Then, he unbuttoned his shirt. Song Woo-yo's eyes twitched and looked at him in surprise. Her cheeks were rosy. Did he need to be so impatient? After that, both of them were drenched in sweat. They hugged each other naked. Song Woo-yo liked the feeling of being surrounded by his scent. Gu Yenhao, on the other hand, was very satisfied to be able to have her body and mind. Both of them fell asleep in each other's arms. Song Woo-yo's face was flush red, and there was a hint of ambiguity. Her charming lips were slightly opened, and there was a faint smile on her face. It was as if she had made a sweet pose. Chapter 479. Song Woo-yo woke up naturally. When she woke up, it was already 9:30. The spot beside her was empty. But his scent was still lingering. Song Woo-yo turned around and reached out to hug his pillow. Her rosy face carried a blissful smile. She put her nose close to the pillow and sweetly sniffed the scent left behind by Gu Yenhao. So blissful, so sweet. Song Woo-yo's eyes sparkled. She was in good spirits. She had slept very well last night. This was the first time in many years that she had slept so soundly. Whether it was in her previous life or this life, she had not slept so comfortably in a long time. Using his arms as a pillow, she slept in his arms. She felt safe and secure. "Miss, are you still sleeping?" Outside the bedroom, there was a soft knock on the door, followed by Su Jing's voice. "You're awake." Song Woo-yo smiled. "Can I come in?" "Yes." Song Wuyo was still hugging the pillow and smiling sweetly. Su Jing pushed the door open and came in with a tablet in her hands. Seeing Song Wuyo hugging the pillow and smiling a little, coquettishly, she asked curiously, "Miss, what are you thinking about?" Song Wuyo looked at Su Jing with sparkling eyes. "Why are you holding the tablet?" Su Jing saw that Song Wuyo's fair and tender arm had kiss marks. They were pink and light purple and were very eye-catching. Su Jing smiled ambiguously. "Miss, was it very exciting last night?" "You talk too much." Song Wuyo scolded jokingly. "Young Master Gu is loving you more and more." Su Jing was envious. "If only I could meet a man who loved me so much." "Lu Jiming is not bad." Song Wuyo joked. Su Jing heard and hurriedly said, "Miss, don't play matchmaker. Lu Jiming doesn't like me." In order to change the topic, Su Jing handed the tablet to Song Wuyo. "Miss, tomorrow is the deadline for the contest in France. Which outfit will you choose? I've put up all the outfits you've designed recently. Which one do you want?" Song Wuyo sat up and wrapped the blanket around her body. She looked up and smiled at Su Jing. "I give up on the competition." When Su Jing heard this, she was surprised. "Miss, why? You've worked so hard to design this." Song Wuyo's eyes were full of smiles. "These works are all from the Gu clan. But I was invited to be a judge," Song Wuyo said with a smile. Su Jing was taken aback. "Judges? That's really impressive. When did this happen?" "Just a few days ago." Su Jing hugged the tablet and looked at Song Wuyo with a smile. "Miss, it's really amazing that you were invited to be a judge for such a grand fashion contest." "Stop flattering me," Song Wuyo said angrily. "I'm not flattering you. I'm telling the truth. Your image now is already that of the Queen of K country. Even when Li Xinxin and Qing Wanduo were beaten up by young Master Gu in the bar, no one blamed young Master Gu. They even said that young Master Gu beat them up well. Young Master Gu is really good to Mississippi. He beat them up to avenge you." Song Wuyo was confused when she heard this. She looked at Su Jing in confusion. "Ah, ho-hit women." Su Jing clicked her tongue and said, "What kind of women are they? If you insist on using the word woman on them, they're female devils." Song Wuyo pursed her lips. Su Jing didn't understand what she meant at all. She asked, "You said that Aho hit Li Xinxin and Qing Wanduo in the bar." Su Jing looked at Song Wuyo in surprise. "Miss, you didn't know." Chapter 480. Song Wuyo shook her head. "I don't know. That's why you should pay more attention to the news on the internet." Su Jing searched on the tablet and muttered, "I'll show you the video. This incident has almost exploded on the internet." The two female demons were sent to the military hospital for treatment. Li Xinxin's arm was broken, and Qing Wanduo's leg was broken. Qing Wanduo's condition is better, but I heard that Li Xinxin's sternum was broken, and she was punched in the chest and abdomen. Song Wuyo frowned slightly. Was it really Gu Yanhao who did it? Su Jing continued, "The video is very short, but the man who hit Li Xinxin was wearing a big trench coat and a cap. When he hit Li Xinxin, he was so cool." "What happened last night?" Song Wuyo asked. Su Jing nodded. "Yes, it happened last night. I only found out about it when I saw the news on my phone this morning." Why is it gone?" Tencent, Weibo, and WeChat search engines all have this news. Why can't I find it now? Even the cool video has been deleted. It can't be played. I can't find it. It must have been deleted. Song Woo-yo thought. It's a pity that you can't watch such a cool video. The result is the same whether I watch it or not. They are injured. Their bones are injured, and they won't be able to jump around for a while. Let's see if they still dare to find trouble with you. Su Jing despised them. Song Woo-yo pursed her lips and did not say anything. She looked thoughtful. Miss, I'll go out. Quickly wash up and go downstairs for breakfast. Sister Song said that Master Gu will be back for lunch. Okay. Song Woo-yo nodded. After Su Jing went out, Song Woo-yo hugged Gu Yanhao's pillow and sniffed his scent, deep in thought. Didn't Gu Yanhao go out to drink with Migu last night? How did it turn into fighting Li Xinxin and Qing Wan duo? Li Xinxin's arm was injured, and he was punched in the stomach and chest. This situation was very similar to hers. Li Xinxin injured her arm with a gun, and Gu Yanhao injured her tendons and bones with a military knife. Her abdomen and chest were pressed against each other, and Gu Yanhao returned them to the other party without any hesitation. He even broke the other party's sternum without mercy. How ruthless was this? It turned out that Gu Yanhao had gone out last night to do this for her. Suddenly, Song Woo-yo smiled sweetly. She was the only one in his heart. How could she not be happy when he doted on her so much? Noon. Gu Yanhao returned on time. Song Woo-yo picked a bouquet of flowers in the garden and stood in front of the villa waiting for Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao saw her from the car. As soon as the car stopped, he couldn't wait to come out. Looking at the woman holding a bouquet of flowers in both hands, standing there and waiting for him with a smile, Gu Yanhao felt a warmth in his heart. His pitch-black eyes were filled with a blissful smile. He walked over quickly, curling his lips into a charming smile. Against the backdrop of the flower petals, she was as beautiful as a fairy. When he came in front of her, his eyes were filled with tenderness as he asked gently, "For me?" Song Woo-yo nodded her head, smiling brightly. "Yes, do you like it?" Gu Yanhao took it over. "I like it. Men also like it when women give them flowers." Song Woo-yo asked curiously. Gu Yanhao looked at her dotingly and curled his lips. "As long as it's from you, no matter what it is, I'll like it." "Ah ho." Song Woo-yo looked at him with her beautiful eyes. Thank you." Gu Yanhao looked at her in amusement. "What are you thanking me for?" Song Woo-yo took the initiative to hug him. Her petite body was completely immersed in Gu Yanhao's broad and firm embrace. Chapter 481. "Thank you for everything you've done for me," Song Woo-yo said with a smile. "Stupid wife, I'm your husband. It's worth it to do anything for you." Gu Yanhao did not know that Song Woo-yo was referring to Li Xinxin and Qing Wanduo's injuries. When Song Woo-yo heard this, she thought that he had admitted it. She raised her hand and held his incomparably handsome face with her small hand. She looked at him faintly. "I'm very touched that you've done things for me. But in the future, you have to take care of your own safety. Don't be impulsive, understand?" Gu Yanhao looked at her with a faint smile. "Other than being entangled with you, I don't have to be impulsive about anything else." "You?" Song Woo-yo said angrily, "I'm talking about serious matters with you, and you're flirting. Isn't it better to flirt with serious matters? This kind of husband and wife life is more interesting. You always have so many crooked reasons." Gu Yanhao lowered his head and pecked her seductive lips. He said softly, "Let's go in and eat." After lunch, the couple hugged each other and sat on the sofa. Gu Yanhao showed Song Woo-yo the tour route and discussed where to go first and then where to go. Song Woo-yo was not familiar with foreign attractions, so she only snuggled in his arms and listened quietly. Gu Yanhao could not help but kiss her forehead as he spoke. That scene was so intimate that Su Jing, Mu Axan, and Sister Song were too embarrassed to appear and avoided them. A week later, Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo were the first to arrive in Egypt. They did not settle down in a bustling city, but chose a small town to stay. They had lived in a bustling city for too long and only thought of some villages or small towns when they came out to relax. In Gu Yanhao's words, he wanted to bring her to feel the beauty and uniqueness of the mountains and rivers. Not to a bustling city, but to a famous mountain, forest, town, village, and so on. Only then could they truly feel the customs of the world. Sometimes, a bustling city made people very irritated. Gu Yanhao brought Song Wuyo to a hotel in the town. It was noon when they arrived. After resting for a while, they left the hotel and went to the small town to look for food. This was a small town in Luxor. The buildings on the street had a distant and ancient flavor. The reason why Gu Yanhao brought Song Wuyo to Egypt was because he understood that the architecture and customs of the X dynasty were very similar to ancient Egypt. He had brought her here so that she could have a taste of her hometown. The only difference was the way she dressed. Looking at the men and women on the street wearing linen robes with all kinds of crystals inlaid on the sides, Song Wuyo seemed a little excited. She held Gu Yanhao's hand tightly and said happily, "I like it here very much." Gu Yanhao smiled. "If you like it, you can stay here for a few more days." They came to a restaurant. The restaurant building was a mud brick building with an ancient flavor. The interior decoration was also filled with ancient characteristics. The walls were filled with famous portraits of the pharaohs. It was very quiet in the restaurant. Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo sat down by the window. Facing each other, the two of them looked at each other tenderly. The waiter came forward and asked Gu Yanhao in stiff English what he wanted to eat. Gu Yanhao answered him in standard Arabic. When the waiter heard this, he was stunned at first. Then, he smiled and noted down the other party's order. After the waiter left, Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao like a love-struck fool. "You know Egyptian." Gu Yanhao raised his handsome face proudly. "I'm a language genius. I can speak basically every country's language." Chapter 482. How many languages do you know? Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao with admiration in her eyes. Gu Yanhao's tsundere illness flared up. Looking at his beloved woman looking at him with admiration, he felt a sense of accomplishment. His perfect lips were raised high. "Hundreds." Song Wuyo's eyes widened in surprise. "So many." "Not much." His words were so modest, but his smile betrayed his pride. "Ah ho, you're so great." Song Wuyo blinked her beautiful eyes and smiled sweetly with incomparable admiration. "You just know." Gu Yanhao smiled bewitchingly. His eyes seemed to have magic that could make people fall and go crazy. "I'll let you know that I'm even better when we go back to the hotel later." "Not serious." Song Wuyo smiled shyly. "Do you like this kind of two-person world?" Gu Yanhao looked at her with a smile in his eyes. "I like it." At this time, the waiter brought the dishes they ordered. "These are all Egyptian specialties. Would you like to try them?" Gu Yanhao ordered furs, tamiyas, roasted pigeons, authentic sandwiches. "It smells so good." Song Wuyo was also hungry. Seeing the food in front of her, her eyes lit up. "Drink the soup first," Gu Yanhao said warmly. "N." Song Wuyo obediently drank the soup and then ate other dishes. Seeing her eat so contentedly, Gu Yanhao's eyes became more and more gentle. The meal lasted for half an hour. After leaving the restaurant, they walked around the neighborhood. On the street, the two of them also bought pita bread and ate it as they walked, completely without their usual dignity and elegance. The two of them walked hand in hand on the street, occasionally looking at each other and smiling. Song Woo-yo liked the feeling of being with him. Looking at the Egyptians in linen clothes on the street. Their simplicity and the sincerity on their faces. Song Woo-yo, who had been through endless wars on the battlefield and lived a life of intrigue in the harem, was particularly emotional. To be able to live a simple life with the person you love is also a kind of truth, a kind of love, and a kind of happiness. She turned her head and looked at Gu Yenhao with a smile. The man's handsome face has been hanging a shallow smile. Her pitch-black phoenix eyes flickered with a satisfied smile. The current him was completely different from the him in M City. He gave off a very amiable and honorable feeling. Song Woo-yo liked this side of him even more. At least, this side of him didn't remind her of Dongfang Xian. I know I'm very handsome, but you can't stare at me like that. I'll be proud. Gu Yenhao tilted his head and chuckled. Even if I don't look at you, you are still very proud, Song Woo-yo said. Silly girl. Gu Yenhao stopped and turned around. His pitch-black eyes stared at her lips. His gentle gaze became very focused. When Song Woo-yo saw this, her face turned slightly red and her expression was a little coquettish. This appearance was very cute. Gu Yenhao lowered his head slightly, and her face turned even redder. Glancing at the people coming and going on the street, she turned her face and said in a low voice, "Ah ho, kissing on the street isn't good, right?" When Gu Yenhao heard this, a charming smile appeared in his eyes. His lips curled up, and he was extremely charming and devilish. So, you're looking forward to me kissing you so much? Song Woo-yo was embarrassed. I'm not. Then how did you know I was going to kiss you? Honey, so you often think about that kind of thing. Gu Yenhao smiled bewitchingly. Chapter 483. Such a smile was like Satan, tempting her to commit a crime. Why are you staring at my lips with such a focused gaze? Don't you want to kiss me? Song Woo-yo glared at him. I want to help you wipe your mouth clean. Gu Yenhao lifted his index finger and placed it at the corner of her lips, rubbing it gently. His fingertip made Song Woo-yo's lips itch. This itch was not like the itch on the skin. Instead, it was like an electric current and a shiver of itch. The itch went to her heart and made her have goosebumps. Gu Yenhao's deep eyes were sparkling as he stared at her lips greedily. Her full, healthy, red lips were soft and seductive. Suddenly, he wanted to kiss her. Song Woo-yo looked up. When she blinked, her long and curved eyelashes were like black fans, trembling gently. Is there something on my lips? She swallowed her saliva and asked. Gu Yenhao's Adam's apple moved up and down. His voice became sultry and hoarse. Song Woo-yo's heartbeat quickened as she looked at the devilish man in front of her. What is it? She stared at his eyes and asked. Bread crumbs. When Song Woo-yo heard that, she was embarrassed and her face turned red. It was so bad for her image. You haven't wiped it clean. No. Gu Yenhao smiled seductively. I can't wipe it clean. Ah. Song Woo-yo was about to ask if the bread was made with 502 glue. However, before she could say anything, Gu Yenhao smiled even more devilishly. You have to kiss it to make it clean. Song Woo-yo stared at him and did not allow her to reject him. His lips were already pressed tightly against hers. The unexpected kiss made Song Woo-yo let out a soft and seductive moan. Gu Yenhao kissed her. The tip of his tongue was on her soft lips and licked gently. Here, there was the smell of bread, sweet and fragrant. The more he kissed, the more he wanted to kiss. Passers-by cast glances at him. Some were surprised, some were curious, and some were ambiguous. But Gu Yanhao didn't care. He was domineering and had his own way of doing things. Right now, he felt that there was only him and her in the world. Her scent was so beautiful that he was addicted to it. It was like eating drugs, and he couldn't kick it no matter how hard he tried. What an annoying man. How could he kiss her on the street? Song Wuyo was shy and wanted to resist in her heart. But her body was not honest. Under his kiss, it seemed to be out of her control. Her mind was muddy from the kiss, and her breathing was robbed. He had occupied her territory and was unbridled in her territory. After countless battles, his skills in this area had improved very quickly. Just a kiss was enough to make her entire body go numb. Song Wuyo believed that he could make her climax with his kisses. This man was too evil. He was like Satan, like the devil. Until she was almost out of breath, Gu Yanhao left her reluctantly. He held her waist with one hand and touched her face with the other. He narrowed his eyes and smiled seductively. His eyes flickered with the color of jade fire, and his voice was deep and sexy. "It's clean. How could you kiss me in front of so many people?" Song Wuyo did not dare to look at the passers-by on the street. "Do you care about what they think?" "I'm so shy." Song Wuyo lowered her head and did not dare to look into his deep and passionate eyes. "I like to see you shy." Gu Yanhao pressed his forehead against hers and said softly, "My wife can be strong and gentle at the same time." "You're so cute." "Wife, let's go back. Let's continue." Chapter 484. Aren't you tired? Song Wuyo said angrily. "How can I be tired? Who is your husband?" "It's a wolf. The wolf is hungry. Hurry up and feed him." Gu Yanhao pulled Song Wuyo's hand and strode forward. "Hurry up and go back. I can't wait any longer." Song Wuyo was speechless. Looking at his anxious footsteps, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Just as they reached the hotel, Gu Yanhao's anxious footsteps suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" Song Wuyo had just asked when she saw the man's huge body pounce on her and pull her behind the lion pillar in front of the hotel. Before Song Wuyo could react, the place where they had been standing was swept by bullets. Song Wuyo was shocked and looked up. She saw 5 or 6 tall men, wearing local linen clothes and carrying rifles, approaching them step by step. Their bodies exuded a strong murderous aura, and their gazes were as sharp and stern as an eagle's. "Are they Egyptians or K people?" Song Wuyo asked, then raised her head and hurriedly looked at Gu Yanhao. "Are you hurt?" Gu Yanhao shook his head. "No." Then he raised his head, his sharp eyes filled with coldness as he glanced at the men walking over. "They're not Egyptians." He took out his pistol and prepared to protect Song Wuyo while exterminating them. But before he could shoot, he saw a man walking in front of him suddenly fall, and he heard a whoosh. Gu Yanhao's heart tightened. He turned around and saw Song Wuyo's cold gaze, holding a pocket-sized pistol in her hand. She was exuding a heroic aura, ready to fight the enemy at any time. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. He didn't have time to think because the other party had already approached. Seeing their comrade fall, they seemed to have gone crazy. A few rifles swept towards the pillar where they were standing. The buildings here were all made of mud bricks, and bullets could easily pass through them. Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo were crouching low, and the bullets flew over their heads. Fortunately, the hotel was located a little far from the street, so there were fewer pedestrians at this time. Otherwise, this kind of shooting would definitely hurt a lot of innocent people. In order to prevent innocent people from getting hurt, Gu Yanhao rolled on the ground. Bang bang bang, 5 consecutive shots were fired. The 5 people who were approaching them fell down one after another. Every shot hit the opponent's vital points. Let's go. Gu Yanhao quickly pulled Song Wuyo's hand and quickly entered the hotel. Back at the hotel, Gu Yanhao said as he packed up his things, "We can't stay here for long." Could they have been sent by Qing Junhua? Song Wuyo said. Gu Yanhao took a deep look at Song Wuyo. Let's leave this place first. Okay. After packing up, they quickly left the hotel. When they walked out of the hotel, the corpses that had just died were gone. Gu Yanhao's eyes narrowed, as if he knew something. He pulled Song Wuyo and quickly got into a high-performance jeep that he had rented. The car drove on the highway. Song Wuyo looked around vigilantly to see if there was an ambush. After getting on the highway, Gu Yanhao suddenly laughed. Relax. They won't catch up. Song Wuyo frowned. How do you know? The corpses were quickly cleaned up. There must be a lot of people on the other side. She looked at Gu Yanhao in confusion. They were being chased, so how could he laugh? What if a high-speed incident like last time happened again? Let's find a place to set up camp first, Gu Yanhao said. Song Wuyo's eyes were incomparably cold. She said angrily, Qing Junhua is really ruthless. We didn't provoke him, but he just had to provoke us. He even chased us here. Chapter 485. The car left the small town and arrived at Cairo. Cairo was a bustling city. It was much livelier than the small town. They arrived at a luxurious hotel for the night. Ah ho, are Qing Junhua's men in different countries? Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao worriedly. If that was the case, it would be better for them to return to M City. At least, there were his men in M City. It would not be so dangerous. Gu Yanhao patted her head lovingly. He did not answer her question directly. Instead, he said gently, "Your marksmanship is not bad." Song Wuyo said, "I practiced it when you were unconscious." Gu Yanhao said, "My wife is great." Song Wuyo asked, "Will they come after us?" Gu Yanhao said, "They want to kill us. No matter where we go, they will come after us." Song Wuyo's expression changed. "What should we do?" Gu Yanhao looked at her with a smile. "Are you afraid?" Song Wuyo shook her head. "No. Don't worry." Gu Yanhao patted her cheek. "They can't hurt us." Song Wuyo suddenly realized something. Is there someone protecting us secretly? Yes. Who? Ade. Gu Yanhao's eyes darkened. Song Wuyo frowned. Was it Ade? Why did she feel that he was lying? If it was Ade, why didn't he come out to meet them? Moreover, Gu Yanhao brought her here at the fastest speed. It was as if he was hiding from someone. After a moment of doubt, Song Wuyo did not ask any more questions. She lowered her eyes and her glittering eyes turned cold. Qing Junhua, what a hateful man. After the two of them took a shower and lay down, they heard a rumbling sound. The sound came from afar. It was accompanied by a slight vibration in the building. Song Wuyo looked out of the window warily. The person who killed us won't appear, right? It doesn't look like it. Gu Yanhao hugged her. It should be an earthquake. Earthquake. Or a volcano eruption. Then should we run for our lives? Song Wuyo asked. They were just traveling. Did God have to play with them like this? They were being hunted down, and they encountered an earthquake. If he had known this would happen, he would have stayed in the manor to play on the swing. Gu Yanhao sensed for a while and didn't see any tremors in the building. There wasn't much of a commotion outside either. No need. Gu Yanhao put one hand on Song Wuyo's waist. Let's sleep. If the hotel really collapses, won't you be able to fly like an eagle? Just fly me up into the sky. Song Wuyo was speechless. She sounded so godly. Perhaps because they were too tired, the two of them hugged each other and quickly fell asleep. The night passed peacefully, and he slept all the way until the sun rose. When they came to the hotel lobby to eat, they found out that there was an earthquake in Alexandria last night, so Cairo also felt the ground shaking. The people eating in the hotel were all discussing the earthquake. Song Wuyo didn't understand Arabic, but from the news pictures on her phone, the scene after the earthquake was a little tragic. Especially when she saw some houses collapsed and the injured people who were rescued were covered in blood. It was very scary and heartbreaking. One of the photos was of a little girl who was very close to her. The little girl's face was dirty, but her eyes were especially dark and clear. She was clearly in pain and scared, but she looked at the camera very calmly. Seeing this photo, Song Wuyo was very emotional. She looked at Gu Yanhao. "Ah ho, can we go to the earthquake site to take a look?" Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and thought for a moment. Sure. Chapter 486. After the earthquake, the scene was too horrible to look at. Song Wuyo simply joined the rescue work. When Gu Yanhao saw this, he also accompanied her and followed the rescue team members to save people. This earthquake received a lot of attention, and the radio station kept broadcasting it. The scene of Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo saving people at the scene was quickly spread in K country. The scene of the Honorable Young Master Gu and Mrs. Gu not being afraid of getting dirty and trying their best to save people was unforgettable. Moreover, they saved more than 10 people from K country who were traveling there. According to the media, one of them was an Egyptian prince. After playing along the way, they arrived in France. The International Women's Clothing Competition that was held once every 5 years would be held in Strasbourg, France. Today was the first day of the competition. The venue was decorated magnificently, but it did not lose its fashion symbol. The 50-meter-long and 5-meter-wide runway was arranged like the Milky Way Bridge, full of fantasy. Below the runway, the judges' seats were in front, and the seats behind the judges were the media and the people who were invited to watch the competition. Before the competition, there was an opening ceremony. After the opening ceremony, the competition officially began. This was a very grand and huge international women's clothing exhibition. The global participants had to bring their own works and models to the venue and appear according to their own numbers. No matter how many participants there were, this competition would only be held for one day. The organizers had counted the number of people. This competition started very early on the day. Song Wuyo walked into the venue accompanied by Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao was dressed in a full suit, and his handsome face was astonishingly beautiful. His long and narrow phoenix-like eyes were deep and dark, and his thin lips were slightly pursed. He exuded a noble temperament, as unruly as an emperor. Song Wuyo, who was wearing a pair of beige high heels and a long white dress, looked ethereal and beautiful. Their appearance immediately attracted the attention of many people. The woman's gaze was on Gu Yanhao, and the man's gaze was locked on Song Wuyo. Even the media's cameras were aimed at them for a long time. What greeted them was the organizer. The organizer warmly brought them to the judges' seats and sat down. As soon as they sat down, the other judges came forward to greet Gu Yanhao. They came from different countries, so Gu Yanhao could easily talk to them in different languages. When the original owner was in school, her grades were terrible. Other than her own Mandarin, she didn't know any other languages. Seeing that Gu Yanhao could easily deal with people from different countries, she looked at him with a gentle and infatuated gaze. The more she looked at this man, the more handsome he was. She was clearly a judge, but when she came to the scene, the one who was more popular was him. He stole her limelight. She loved him so much. After the greetings, the opening ceremony ended and the competition began. Song Wuyo was one of the judges, so she carefully observed, analyzed and felt every piece of art on the runway. Every piece of work was designed in a unique way. It was obvious that the designer had put in a lot of effort. They all hoped that their works could be innovative, fashionable, and breakthrough. Every model's figure was perfect. They were tall and slender, and some were fat, while others were thin. Their steps were also very elegant, and they had their own personality. After half an hour, Song Joyue appeared. Today, she was both a designer and a model. She tried her best to show the uniqueness of her work. Ever since Qing Junhua found out that she wanted to expose Song Wuyo's identity to the president, Qing Junhua used her and Song Nan's lives, as well as the Song Corporation to threaten her. Moreover, after the Qing family found out about her fake pregnancy, she was neglected and even moved out of the Qing residence. Qing Junhua almost ignored her. She wanted to make a comeback through this fashion competition. Chapter 487. She had seen many works backstage just now, and she was confident that none of them could compare to the one she was wearing. Even after she put on the dress, the models looked at her with amazement and shock. From their reactions, she could tell that in their eyes, her dress was a unique work of art. She walked out gracefully with a confident smile on her face. It was an off-the-shoulder long dress. It was mainly aqua blue with a white hem. The material of the dress was made of silky silk. The aqua blue and white glowed faintly with each other. The hem of the dress curved from high to low, all the way to her ankles. The corners of the dress were inlaid with little bits of transparent white crystals, like morning pearls on the tips of green leaves. As the dress swayed with the movement of the dress, it was like the faint starlight in the faint clouds at night. Song Joyue wore the dress, and her beautiful collarbone was faintly discernible. Her steps were calm, and the smile on her face was confident and elegant. She gave off a very youthful and sunny feeling. Moreover, the design of the dress was very unique and innovative. It could be used as a dress for work or shopping, or it could be used as a wedding dress or an evening gown. If such a design was released on the market, it would undoubtedly be another selling product. Tall and petite people would all have their own style when wearing it. It was creative and fashionable, and it also catered to the needs of the market. It really made people's eyes light up. Several works were displayed together on the stage, and the cameras below the stage seemed to be chasing after Song Joyue. The judges' expressions were full of appreciation as their eyes followed Song Joyue. Song Wuyo frowned. When she saw Song Joyue walk out, her eyes lit up, and then there was a hint of surprise. This dress was actually worn by her. However, Song Joyue's figure was really good, and her skin tone matched the dress very well. She had to admit that Song Joyue looked beautiful in this dress. If she was just a model, she would give her full marks. However, she was showing this dress in the name of a designer today. The confident and calm Song Joyue began to pay attention to the situation below the stage from the moment she came on stage. Seeing the spotlights below the stage chasing after her and the judges smiling appreciatively at her, her smile became even more obvious. The rules of this competition were as follows: the judges with the highest average score and the number of votes cast by the audience and netizens would be combined. Whoever had the highest number would be the winner. Seeing the reaction of the audience, Song Joyue was very confident. Even if she couldn't win the championship, she could still win second place. The game lasted from morning until 10 at night. Halfway through, no one left to rest. Even the meal was done on the spot. At 10:00, the competition officially ended. At 11:30, the host went on stage to announce the winners. This was undoubtedly the most exciting moment. For the sake of the finale, the lowest-ranking contestant would be announced, all the way until the champion was announced. There were many rankings for the competition. Innovation Award, Catering Award, Excellence Award, Fashion Award, Comprehensive Award, Third Place, Second Place, and Champion. The last three prizes were the most exciting. Song Jo-yue, who was standing on stage with all the other designers, was very nervous and excited. The third place was already announced. Seeing the Italian designer go up to receive the award, Song Jo-yue was so excited that her breathing became a little irregular. After the third place was announced, only the first place and the champion were left. Actually, she had already noticed Song Woo and Gu Yenhao sitting in the judges' seats. Chapter 488. In fact, she had already noticed Song Woo and Gu Yenhao sitting in the judges' seats. When she first saw them, she was a little surprised. No wonder she didn't see Song Woo participating. She had been invited to be a judge. In order to prevent cheating, the judges and contestants' lists were kept secret and wouldn't be announced to the public. Only those who were there would know who the judges were. In the beginning, Song Jo-yue was a little worried that Song Woo would deliberately criticize her work. But when she saw the enthusiasm of the other judges and the audience, she felt that her worries were unnecessary. It was just Song Woo. Even if she gave her work a low score and the other judges gave it a high score, it wouldn't affect her ranking. Moreover, there were netizens all over the world and thousands of audience members voting. Because Gu Yenhao was there, she showed a decent, elegant, and beautiful smile throughout. Not only did the audience think that her dress was beautiful, but she also looked like a fairy with an excellent temperament. Now that it was all about appearance, the results were obvious. More people voted for her than the other models. The first runner-up was announced, and then the winner was announced. As she expected, she was the winner. When the MC's passionate and excited voice rang out, he said loudly in standard French, "Next, we will announce the winner of this year's fashion competition. Guess who it will be?" "Oh, that's right, the winner is contestant number 568 from country K, Song Jo-yue." "Aw, aw, aw. Oh, oh, oh." The audience cheered. This was the most exciting moment. Even Song Jo-yue, who had been prepared for this, covered her mouth with both hands when she heard the MC's words. Her eyes reddened in disbelief. When she heard Song Jo-yue from country K, her only thought was that she was the winner. Her fame in the design world was even greater. "Song Woo, look, I'm the winner. I will slowly suppress you. Gu Yenhao, do you see this? I'm the winner. You insisted on marrying Song Woo and ignored me. I want you to know how good I am at designing." After the award ceremony, the other contestants left the stage one by one, leaving behind the first, second, and third place winners. At such an exciting moment, of course, it was time to interview them about their design experience. After questioning Ji Yejun, the host finally came to Song Jo-yue and asked in French, "Miss Song, can you share with us your inspiration for this dress?" Song Jo-yue nodded with a smile and said in perfect French, "Of course, I'd love to. I think everyone should be curious about the environment I design and the source of inspiration. In order for everyone to understand me better, I have made a video of my design life. Everyone, please look at the big screen. After watching this video, you will understand how I usually design and how I make clothes." "Oh, that's great. I'm also very curious about how Miss Song designed such a unique outfit. Let's watch the big screen together." On the big screen in front of the tea stage, colorful lights flickered, and after the previous image, it was the official recording. Song Joyue, like everyone else, stared intently at the big screen. When she saw the video for the first time, her expression changed drastically. Why wasn't it the USB drive she had given to the organizer? Why was it a video that had nothing to do with her? No. This video had something to do with her. It was just that the image had changed perfectly, and the person in it was still her. Chapter 489. The background of the video was the washroom. Su Jing placed her bag in front of the sink and hurried into the washroom. She looked like she was in a hurry. Soon, her figure appeared with a smug and triumphant smile on her face. While Su Jing was in the washroom, she quickly took out an A4-size draft paper from her bag. Then, she placed the draft paper on the clean sink and spread it out. Using her phone, she took 3 photos of the draft paper and left in a hurry. She entered the elevator. In the corner of the elevator, she looked at the photos triumphantly. When she opened the draft paper and looked at the photos on her phone in the elevator, the camera zoomed in and everyone could see clearly that the design draft on the paper was the dress Song Joyue was wearing now. The color and style were exactly the same without any changes. The MC and the audience's expressions became strange. Below the stage, there was silence. The video ended, but no one made a sound. Song Joyue felt cold and her mind was blank. Below the stage, Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao sat as if nothing had happened. The MC turned around and looked at Song Joyue awkwardly. Seeing that her face was as pale as a sheet of white paper, she forced a smile in French. "Miss Song, is this how you usually design?" "No. No, what do you mean by no? I didn't send this video." The MC frowned slightly. Maybe the staff made a mistake. Song Joyue nodded stiffly and said in a trembling voice, "It should be." "That's right." "Maybe," the MC asked again, "Miss Song, may I ask if the dress you're wearing is really your original design?" Song Joyue's heart skipped a beat. She looked up at the MC with difficulty and said, Yes. Yes, I think it's plagiarized." Below the stage, a male audience member said loudly. He spoke English and looked like an Englishman. His words seemed to have awakened a person from a dream. Below the stage, there was an uproar and everyone started to jeer. Plagiarized. The video is so obvious. Do you still need to ask? That piece of art was clearly stolen by her. Can this be considered a fashion designer? She's simply insulting the word design. Get lost, plagiarist. Audiences from all over the world scolded Song Joyue in different tones. Song Joyue was a straight-A student and had mastered several languages. She could understand the commotion below the stage. Her heart almost jumped out of her throat when she heard them jeering and scolding her for plagiarism. She felt the world spinning, her body swaying, her brain buzzing, cold sweat breaking out all over her body. How could this be? What she brought over was not this video. How did it end up like this? Song Joyue suddenly glanced at Song Wuyo and saw Song Wuyo elegantly sipping her tea. Although she was a little far away, she could clearly see Song Wuyo's smiling eyes. It's her. She was the one who harmed her. Song Joyue's gaze uncontrollably turned cold and her expression started to distort. She stared coldly at Song Wuyo. She was the one who harmed her. She wanted to ruin her reputation and make it impossible for her to survive in the design industry. It was her. The MC saw that Song Joyue's expression had turned so scary that it looked like she wanted to eat someone alive. She timidly took 2 steps back. Below the stage, when the audience saw Song Joyue's expression, even if she didn't explain, they already knew the result. Ah! Song Joyue suddenly seemed to have gone crazy. She jumped off the stage and pounced on Song Wuyo. Chapter 490. Her speed was faster than a wolf that had seen its prey. When the security guards saw this, they rushed forward to stop her. Song Wuyo, who was sitting in the judge's seat, frowned slightly and looked calmly at Song Joyue, who seemed to have gone crazy. Song Joyue's actions made the scene even livelier. The spotlights flashed at her non-stop. But she couldn't care less. She was caught by the security guards and struggled with all her might. With a ferocious expression, she shouted at Song Wuyo, you tricked me. Following her words, everyone's eyes and spotlights followed her line of sight and landed on Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo lifted her chin slightly and looked at Song Joyue calmly. Her calmness, her ease, made her aura grow bigger all of a sudden. Gu Yanhao, who was sitting beside her, leaned back. His long and narrow eyes were deep and sharp, and his thin lips were slightly pursed. Languid and elegant, his indifferent expression made him look like a high and mighty emperor. The man's ink-like eyebrows were slightly raised and he looked at Song Joyue coldly. You tricked me. Song Joyue glared at Song Wuyo maliciously. You deliberately let Su Jing talk on the phone in front of me. You deliberately made a fool of me. Song Wuyo smiled lightly, her calm and beautiful eyes did not show much emotion. I'm also very surprised. How could you hog my design for yourself? The judges could also understand K-Nation's language. When they heard Song Wuyo's words, they couldn't help but become restless and whisper to each other. This winner's design was really plagiarized. No, it wasn't plagiarized, it was stolen. Stop pretending. Song Joyue pounced on Song Wuyo crazily. Song Wuyo, I want to kill you. I'll kill you. You offered Su Jing 200,000 yuan to sell out Wuyo and steal Wuyo's work while Su Jing was in the bathroom. You even had the guts to enter the competition. Whose fault is it? Gu Yanhao said indifferently, his eyes cold. His voice was neither fast nor slow. His indifferent expression was imposing without being angry. The aura emitted from his body made people shudder. His cold eyes were sharp and unyielding. As soon as he opened his mouth, the people around him felt a suffocating pressure. They all kept quiet and looked at him as he spoke. He spoke in Korean, but many people at the scene understood him, especially the media and the judges. After hearing this, everyone looked at Song Joyue with disdain. She was the top designer in the design world, but she stole someone else's work. When the designers on the scene found out, they were even more furious. It was not easy to design a piece of work, but this woman had easily won the championship. She stole someone else's work, and after being exposed, she still felt that she was in the right. She yelled at the designer and even tried to kill him. What kind of people were they? Young Master Gu. When Song Joyue looked at Gu Yanhao, she suddenly softened. She looked at Gu Yanhao pitifully. Her eyes were about to fall. It was you. You were the one who changed my USB drive. Gu Yanhao looked at her coldly. His voice was as cold as ice. You didn't learn your lesson at the muddling heart party. Have you learned your lesson this time? Why? Song Joyue suddenly pointed at Song Wuyo and glared at Gu Yanhao. Why do you have to marry this bitch when I like you? Gu Yanhao looked at Song Wuyo. When he saw her, his cold eyes became extremely gentle. His lips curled into a charming smile. Because she is my true love. Chapter 491. Ah. Song Joyue was deeply affected. Her chest hurt, and she screamed before fainting. "Take her away," Gu Yanhao said coldly. His tone was like that of an emperor, full of majesty that made people have no choice but to obey. The security guards quickly dragged Song Jiuyue away. Song Wuyo looked at Song Jiuyue, who was wearing the dress that she designed. She frowned slightly and thought about it. Poor woman, Song Wuyo was not a ruthless woman. If the other party did not provoke her, she would not fight back. If the other party provoked her, she could not be a sick cat and let the other party bully her. In her previous life, in the harem, in the face of Dongfang Xian's love for the empress and the empress's bullying, in order to survive, she endured a lot and suffered for a long time. In the end, didn't she still die? Now, she would not tolerate anything anymore. After Song Jiuyue was dragged away, the scene was still not quiet. The media came forward to interview Song Wuyo. The media came from different countries. When they asked Song Wuyo questions, they also used their own national language. Other than the language of country K, Song Wuyo did not understand anything else. In the face of their machine gun-like questions, Song Wuyo was very calm, but her beautiful face showed a hint of confusion. Gu Yanhao leaned over and hugged her. He smiled at the media and said in standard English, "My wife only thought about love when she was in school. She doesn't understand any foreign language." The man's exquisite face was like a delicate sculpture. It was perfect. That pair of clear, jade-like eyes, as dark as ink, contained a faint smile. The reporters were smitten. What a perfect Oriental man. When he said that his wife only thought about love when she was in school, his eyes were gentle and doting. Coupled with his deep and magnetic voice, every word he said hit the hearts of all the women. Why were all good men other people's husbands? Gu Yanhao dealt with the media for a while longer before leaving the scene with Song Wuyo. And this time, the champion naturally fell to Song Wuyo. Although she didn't participate in the competition, almost the entire world knew that she was the one who designed it. By the time they left the scene and returned to their hotel, it was already 2 in the morning. Quickly wash up and sleep. Gu Yanhao hugged Song Wuyo from behind, his chest pressed tightly against her back. Song Wuyo smiled. "What did you say to the reporters just now?" "Say I love you." "I don't. They asked me what I liked about you." Song Wuyo smiled and asked, "What did you answer?" Gu Yanhao's hands gently pressed on her lower abdomen. His cold thin lips naughtily pressed against her earlobe, and his deep voice sounded in her ear. "I said, I like 3 things about you." Song Wuyo asked curiously, "What 3 things?" Gu Yanhao's palms became hot as if they were on fire. Slowly, they moved upwards. Song Wuyo's heart was pounding. Finally, his demonic palms covered her breasts, and his lips curled up wickedly. These 2 things. So seductive. These 3 words seemed to have a magical power. When Song Wuyo heard them, her heart trembled violently. Her heart was soft, and her body was numb. Her body leaned softly against his strong chest. And this. He reached out with one hand and quickly swam to her. Song Wuyo blushed, and her breathing was a little irregular. "Is that what you told the reporters?" "Can't I?" Gu Yanhao's muscular arm looked around her breasts, and his other hand wandered around her lower abdomen, holding her tightly in his arms. Chapter 492. The man nibbled on her earlobe playfully. Song Wuyo felt numb all over her body, and her cheeks turned red. "How can you say such things to them?" she said angrily. Gu Yanhao smiled seductively. "If not, how will they know how much I love you? Why do you want them to know whether you love me or not?" Song Wuyo pouted and said in a reproachful tone. To show off our love, lest mistresses come knocking on our door. Song Wuyo chuckled when she heard that. Are you trying to say that you're handsome and charming? No, I'm saying that you are very handsome and charming. Song Wuyo chuckled. You have good taste. Honey, it's getting late. Let's make a baby. The man's hands started to move. Gu Yanhao, you are getting more and more indecent. Song Wuyo tried to push him away. I'm indecent to my wife, not indecent. He held her tighter, not letting her escape. Then what is it? Flirting. As he said that, he nibbled on her ear. Song Wuyo's body could not help but shiver. She turned her head to dodge and laughed. It tickles. Do you like it? Gu Yanhao's flirting skills were getting better and better. Song Wuyo's face was red, and her heart was beating faster. Every time this happened, she would be very shy, although it was not the first time. Gu Yanhao was very satisfied with her reaction. From the beginning, she was still young and inexperienced, to now she was mature and charming. This woman was getting more and more interesting. Gu Yanhao turned her body around and looked at her with a burning gaze. Go in and take a shower. Song Wuyo was like a soft and lazy kitten. She said lazily, she was too tired. She wanted to take a shower and have a good sleep. Looking at her obedient look, Gu Yanhao smiled and carried her into the bathroom. The next morning, they left the room and went downstairs. When Gu Yanhao saw that Song Wuyo was walking uneasily, he raised his eyebrows and asked seriously, "What's wrong?" Song Wuyo glared at him. You still have the nerve to ask. It's all your fault. Gu Yanhao pretended not to know anything and asked with a blank face, how did I do that? Seeing him like this, Song Wuyo really wanted to punch him. You've been tormenting me for an entire night. Gu Yanhao, I'm already very gentle. Pausing for a moment, he curled his lips seductively. In the end, you're still too weak. Song Wuyo glared at him. How could she not be weak after a few exercises? She wasn't a wolf. Do you want me to carry you downstairs? Gu Yanhao pretended to be a good person. No. Song Wuyo refused. I'll hold you downstairs. Gu Yanhao put his arm on her shoulder. When they arrived at the lobby of the hotel, they saw two familiar figures. Lu Jiming and Su Jing. Why are you here? Song Wuyo went up and looked at them in surprise. We're here to watch the competition. Su Jing went up and held Song Wuyo's hand and said happily, Miss, I've missed you so much. Song Wuyo seemed to understand. She looked at Lu Jiming. You're the one who changed Song Joyue's USB flash drive? Lu Jiming nodded. Yes, young Master Gu said to teach her a lesson. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao. This man was so good to her, Miss, this is my first time here. It's so fun here and there's so much delicious food. Su Jing was very excited since it was her first time in France. Chapter 493. We'll be staying here for 3 days. Gu Yanhao looked at Song Wuyo and said indifferently. Because of work? Song Wuyo asked. Gu Yanhao nodded his head. Yes, I've invested in a lot of projects here. What are they? Song Wuyo felt that her husband was really amazing. This hotel is mine. Gu Yanhao's gaze swept around the lobby indifferently. Song Wuyo's eyes widened when she heard that. This was a 5-star luxury hotel. It would cost a lot of money just to stay for a night. Furthermore, it would be full of people every day. How much money would they earn in a day? If they could earn so much just by staying in the hotel, what about the meals and entertainment? Song Wuyo hugged Gu Yanhao and grinned. Tycoon, let's be friends. Gu Yanhao curled his lips and joked with her. I'm not going to be friends with you. Song Wuyo pouted her lips. I don't want a lot of money from you. Gu Yanhao looked at her dotingly. I want to be husband and wife with you. Spicy eyes. Single dog abuse. Su Jing and Lu Jiming could not bear to watch any longer. As the couple's relationship deepened, they no longer cared about the passers-by. All right, I want to be the lady boss of the hotel. Song Wuyo smiled. As you wish. Gu Yanhao touched Song Wuyo's tender face. Aude and I are going to the construction site to investigate. You, Su Jing and Jiming can rest in the hotel. Construction site. Aude is here too. Song Wuyo was stunned. Gu Yanhao chuckled softly. Yes. It's a newly developed property that has just started construction. It's a little far from here. There's a lot of dust and noise during construction. You don't have to go. More importantly, the construction team was full of men. In order to save on clothes, or perhaps because it was hot during the work, they liked to work topless. The narrow-minded Gu Yanhao did not want Song Wuyo to see so many men's bare chests. Moreover, she was tired last night. She needed a good rest. He was going to take her out for a romantic night. Yes. Song Wuyo's entire body was sore from being tormented by him last night. She slept late, and Su Jing was there. She really wanted to stay in the hotel to rest. Gu Yanhao looked at Lu Jiming indifferently. Protect young madam well. Lu Jiming nodded and smiled. Young Master Gu, don't worry. He would protect Song Wuyo even if he had to risk his life. He had never forgotten that his life was saved by Song Wuyo. After Gu Yanhao left, Su Jing intimately hugged Song Wuyo's arm and asked with a smile, Miss, are you very tired? Are you too tired to go shopping? Su Jing's smile was ambiguous. I am very tired. Song Wuyo admitted. But I can't sleep. By the way, are you staying in this hotel too? Aude arranged for us to stay in the rooms. So this luxurious hotel belongs to young Master Gu. We are staying for free. Su Jing said happily. I am very tired, but I am even hungrier. After a night of torment, she had used up a lot of her energy. Then let's go eat. In the hotel? Su Jing asked. Song Wuyo looked at Lu Jiming. Jiming, you speak French? Lu Jiming nodded. Yes, I know French, English, and German. You can be our interpreter. I want to eat elsewhere. Song Wuyo said. Okay, I have lived in France before. I will take you to eat French food. It is delicious and cheap. They arrived at the French food street. The shops on both sides of the street were all selling French food. People who came to France would gather here to eat all kinds of delicious food. It was the local morning now. At this time, the street was very lively and the fragrance of all kinds of food floated all over the street. Chapter 494. Lu Jiming took them to a small restaurant with a very unique decoration. The restaurant was not big, but the decoration was romantic and elegant. Moreover, it was full. They waited in line for a while before they could get a seat. The three of them sat around a round table. Lu Jiming could speak French, so the order was naturally left to him. They say that those who haven't eaten St. Jacques scallops shouldn't say that they understand scallops. Lu Jiming smiled and then looked at Song Wuyo. Mrs. Gu, do you like scallops? I'm not picky. Hurry up and order. Song Wuyo was so hungry that she could eat anything. Okay. Lu Jiming quickly ordered Saint Jacques scallops, buckwheat crepes, veal braised in white sauce, 3 portions of crispy onion soup, French dry-fried squid, 3 portions of soufflé cheese, and a portion of duck breast. When the dishes were ready and served, Song Wuyo and Su Jing's eyes were blinded. There was so much food. Every dish was especially delicious. Because the food was delicious and she was hungry, Song Wuyo ate quickly. In the restaurant, customers left batch after batch. The restaurant staff were very busy. When they were finally full, they paid the bill and left. When they walked out of the restaurant, a waitress in the restaurant's uniform came to clean up their table with a tray. She was wearing a mask and a sanitary hat distributed by the restaurant. Her eyes stared straight at the empty plates on the table. Her eyes were cold and gloomy. The corners of her lips under the mask had already curled into a cold smile. She quickly cleaned up the plates and went to a utility room behind the kitchen. She took off the restaurant's uniform and changed back into her own clothes. Then, she quickly left the place. After eating and drinking to her heart's content, Song Wuyo wanted to go back to the hotel and have a good sleep. Su Jing hooked her arm and walked on the street. She said happily, "Miss, Jiming and I were at the competition yesterday. The dress you designed was really beautiful." Song Wuyo smiled. "When I have time, I'll design one especially for you." Su Jing smiled until her cheeks turned red. "Thank you, Mississippi. Did Jennings cause any trouble while I was away?" "He doesn't make trouble. He pesters Mushin all day long. Although Mushin doesn't like Jennings, there's nothing she can do." "Miss, I found that Jia Ning's ability to pester people is really good. Mushin is clearly annoyed by him, but she can't do anything to him." "Jennings is thick-skinned," Song Wuyo said with a smile. "If he wasn't stupid, he must be a very smart child. If he wasn't sick and locked up in a mental hospital, he would be a very handsome young man now." "Are we taking the bus or walking back to the hotel?" Su Jing asked. When they arrived, they were sent by the hotel's car. "Let's take a taxi," Song Wuyo said. In fact, it wasn't far to walk back, but she was too tired. Otherwise, she would walk back and treat it as exercise. Walking out of the street, Lu Jiming was about to call a taxi. "Su Jing, what's wrong?" Suddenly hearing Song Wuyo's anxious words, Lu Jiming hurriedly turned around and looked at her. I suddenly feel dizzy." Su Jing, who was hooking Song Wuyo, felt dizzy. Her body went soft and she was about to sit on the ground. Song Wuyo grabbed her arm tightly and tried to help her up. But her arm was sore and she couldn't pull up the heavy Su Jing. Lu Jiming thought that Su Jing had a sudden illness and hurriedly came forward. But, why was his head also dizzy? He took another step forward and his whole body was shaking. He felt that the world was spinning. Chapter 495. Song Wuyo wanted to ask Lu Jiming to come forward and help Su Jing up. When she saw Lu Jiming's expression, her eyes darkened. Was there something wrong with the food she had just eaten? She felt dizzy. Song Wuyo quickly closed her eyes and calmed herself down. She opened her eyes when she no longer felt so uncomfortable. When she opened her eyes, Lu Jiming was already sitting on the ground. He looked very uncomfortable. Song Wuyo couldn't care less. Seeing a taxi coming over, she waved at the car. The car stopped and a local woman got out. Seeing that their expressions were not right, she asked in French, "Have you been drinking?" Song Wuyo couldn't understand what she was saying. She said in Mandarin, "Take us to the hospital." She didn't know if the woman understood, but she came over and helped Su Jing and Lu Jiming into the car with Song Wuyo. They sat in the back seat, and Song Wuyo went to the front passenger seat. This kind of taxi was limited to 4 people. She didn't realize that the woman who helped them into the car with her didn't get in. Instead, a blonde woman wearing a mask sat in the driver's seat. When she got into the car, she realized that her head was even dizzier. She held her head and said to the driver, "Go to the nearby hospital." The car started and drove away from the small street onto the asphalt road. The car was a little fast, and Song Wuyo, who was already dizzy, felt even dizzier. She turned around and glanced at Su Jing and Lu Jiming. They had completely fainted. Song Wuyo frowned in discomfort. Was there a problem with the food, or was it deliberately poisoned? Song Wuyo's ferocious face suddenly flashed across Song Juyue's mind. A sense of danger attacked her, and she realized something. She raised her head and looked at the taxi driver who was driving. Although she was dressed like the woman who helped Su Jing and Lu Jiming into the car, she was still blonde. But this woman was not that woman. Song Juyue. Song Wuyo was shocked. Although she was wearing a mask and a wig, Song Wuyo could recognize her eyes even if she was beaten to death. The driver ignored her and continued to drive at full speed. The car was getting further and further away from the city. Song Juyue, are you crazy? Song Wuyo struggled to endure the pain of dizziness, not letting herself faint. She had been holding it in for a long time, so she didn't faint like Su Jing. I must be crazy. Song Juyue's gaze was incomparably cold. You've ruined my reputation. Even on the streets of France, people are pointing at me. If I return to M City, will I still have a place to stay? Song Wuyo, I'm going to kill you today. A wave of dizziness made Song Wuyo feel a tightness in her chest. She supported her head with both hands. You despicable woman. I didn't even blame you for stealing my work, you're the despicable one. You stole the man I like. If he didn't love me, would I be able to steal him away? Song Wuyo felt that it was ridiculous. She searched for something on her body, and then remembered that her bag was placed in the back. When she helped Su Jing just now, her bag was placed together with Su Jing's bag. She turned around and glanced at the bag lying next to Su Jing. She leaned over, wanting to take it. When Song Juyue saw this, the car suddenly turned a corner, stopped abruptly, and then hurried off again. With this, Song Wuyo's body swayed, and their bags fell at Su Jing's feet. You're simply crazy. After the swaying just now, Song Wuyo couldn't hold it in anymore. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.